Hello, it's me, Tom, your friendly neighborhood atheist, and I got kind of a monk thing going on here. Maybe Unabomber? Nah, not Unabomber. That's just silly. Anyhow, I wanted to give you a little bit of a clue of why I'm an atheist. Growing up, I was brought up to believe in God and religion, but it never quite took. Though it was a surprise to my family, and it was a surprise to me that my family did believe. But part of the reason why was because of all the different religions, which I had a lot of exposure to a lot of different religions. Um, and by different religions, I mean the same religion, but they all practice something different. So I just got a little bit of a cheat sheet to remind me of some of these religions. Because when we talk about religion, you're talking about thousands of different religions. There's so many different religions now. Not to mention the thousands that have come and gone already. But just think of Christians. Just some of the bigger names of Christians. You got the Baptists, the Protestants, and the Methodists, the Pentecostals, the Presbyterians, the Lutherans, evangelicals, born again. That would be my sister. The Mormons, they're Christians. Jehovah's Witnesses, Mennonites. You know Mennonites, Quakers. I mean these are the ones that don't live in modern times. They're going around horse and buggy because they think God's plan involves them living in the 1800s. I don't know. Christian Scientists. I don't know if they threw in scientists because they thought maybe it'll make them sound like they're intelligent. I don't know. But if there's anything that is less scientific than Christian Scientists, let me know because I can't imagine. But these are just a few of Christians, not to mention Catholics. Now, Catholics, I know Christians that say Catholics are different, and I know Catholics that say Christians are different, and I know both that say that they're the same thing. They believe in the same God, but they're not the same thing. And where Christians have all these denominations, they're like groups, they're like clubs, they're like cults, really. Catholics are a little different. They are Christian, but Catholics go more like by nationality. I mean, you got your Greek Orthodox, Roman Catholics, Polish, which my very good friends across the street are, Mexican Catholic, which my wife is. Latins in general tend to be Catholic, but each one of those groups practices Catholicism very differently. And I've gotten to go to many Christian churches, many different ones, and many Catholic churches, and even Judaism. Judaism. What do we got for Judaism? We got the Orthodox, got conservative, we got Reform, Reconstructionists. These are like major differentiated Jewish groups. And probably the most recent would be the secular humanists. Now, I've said quite often that of all religions, Judaism is probably the most atheistic, and secular humanist Judaism is cultural Jews. They are keeping the fun stuff of Judaism without really adhering to the whole God's plan. But growing up, I got to go to a lot of different churches, and each church told me theirs was the true religion. Theirs was the real story. They were correct. The other ones were wrong. And it didn't really take me very long to come to the conclusion that they're all wrong. If every single church says every other single church is wrong, then it's pretty clear that they are all wrong. But they all think that they're right. Now, the last major religion, Muslims, And most people, when they think of Muslims, they just think Muslims, at least here in America. Or they think ISIS. Scary ISIS. Islam, I guess, is they practice Islam. Even I don't have it quite right. But a couple of names that you'll recognize from the news would be the Sunni and Shiite. Now, those are the two probably biggest, and they break up into other groups as well. The Baha'is, the Druze, Alevis. I can't even, they're Arabic names. I can't pronounce them. I'm not even going to try, because the point I'm trying to make is there are so many different kinds of religion in practice. And they all think they are the correct religion. And they all say the other ones are incorrect. They all think they have the right God. They all think their scriptures tell the real story. I mean, just talk about scriptures. I mean, look at the Catholics and the Christians and the Old Testament and the New Testament. The practice, Christians, Jesus is number one. And Catholics, they look to the Pope. And the Latin ones look to the Virgin Mary. They're all practicing vastly different religions under the guise of being the same religion. I mean, Judaism has the Torah, which is its own separate Bible. And of course, you're familiar with the Quran. These are all vastly different religious texts. And they all claim to be the Word of God. They all claim to be the correct religious text. They can't all be right. Now, I get quite often, people point out, this prediction was correct. Well, most of the predictions that are in biblical text were written after the event was, but in context of it being written before. So it was a prediction predicted after the event, but they pretended like it came before. But anything that is correct in any of these religious texts, and I do admit there are things that are correct in religious texts, that isn't necessarily telling of anything. I mean, a broken clock is correct twice a day. So, I mean, just because they had something correct, lucky guess. I mean, that's really the best that can be said for it. Yeah. And again, a lot of these things were written after the events, so they weren't really predictions. They were just writing down what happened. But they said the person who told the story was before, and it's all bullshit. But I never believed any of it. I never accepted any of it. I mean, I accepted God as a child when I accepted Santa Claus. But when I figured out Santa Claus wasn't real, I also just figured out God wasn't real. Because it didn't make any sense. Nothing about these religions makes any sense. Nothing about the religious texts, nothing about the stories makes any sense to me. And each one tells a different story and says that they are the correct one. That makes no sense. I mean, there's nothing that makes any sense of any of it. And that's why I'm an atheist. Not because I reject God. I never thought there was a God. I reject the claims that there is a God. I don't hate God. Nothing ever bad happened to me. I was raised in a very loving family. And like I said, I didn't really realize that they were religious until later in life. Well, so I was in my teens. And I get some rejection, and I get some flack for not believing, and they can't understand why I don't believe. I wasn't raised that way. I was raised to believe. And I can't understand how it is that they believe. And I wonder, how am I related to these people who believe that there's a literal God? I mean, I am the only one in my family, and even my extended family, and I have a fairly large extended family. There's one, maybe two, possibly three people who are an atheist. out of maybe 100 people. So I'm surrounded, just in my family, with religion. And I get along with most people. I get along with almost everybody. And they've always known I was an atheist. And sometimes they tease me, and sometimes they'd say things that were just silly, like when I've gone to church, aren't you afraid the holy water is going to burn you? Aren't you afraid you're going to get struck by lightning? I mean, just stupid shit like that. And I still get, when Christmas comes around, you're going to celebrate Christmas? I'm like, sure, why wouldn't I celebrate Christmas? I mean, Christmas is a marketing, I mean, there's really so little religion in Christmas. I mean, if all religions completely and utterly disappeared from the face of the earth, we'd still have Christmas. There's a lot of money made at Christmas, so we will continue having Christmas. Easter might go by the wayside, but we'll probably still have chocolate bunnies and Easter eggs. And you look at all these, like Easter. It's a very religious holiday. Chocolate bunnies and boiled eggs. These are not, I mean, there's some symbolism there, but these are ways of trying to get kids interested in religion. Bring them in for the chocolate, and then sit them down for you're going to hell if you don't believe this. And I got a lot of that from a lot of relatives. You're going to hell if you don't believe it. Well, I never believed in hell, so I was never concerned about not believing it. And when they were telling me stories that were just made absolutely no sense, like an ark full of animals, it wasn't hard for me not to believe it. And since I didn't believe in hell, it was never a threat, so I never worried about it. And that is why I'm an atheist. Very simple. I don't think there's a God. And anyone who tells me there's a God, I don't believe them. Because I don't really think that they believe. I mean, really. How do you believe what's written in the Bible? How do you force yourself? I mean, you really have to force yourself to believe what's written in the Bible, because it is some crazy stuff. Anyways, I am Tom, your friendly neighborhood atheist, and of all those religions, which one are you? Which one do you believe in? Which religion, which segregation of that religion do you think is the correct one? Because I guarantee all the other ones think that you're wrong and think that you're going to hell. Congratulations. You're probably going to hell, unless you believe in all of them, just in case.